Well, there is a push on Capitol Hill right now to catch some notorious tax cheats who owe nearly $1 billion. They're not celebrities. They're not bankers. Oh, no, no, no. They work for your government. You pay them with your hard-earned tax dollars, but they don't pay their own taxes. Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz is a Republican on the Government Reform Committee. He says it's time for them to pay or be fired. Congressman, good afternoon to you.
Hey, good to see you, Megan.
All right, so you're telling me that we've got federal employees who owe $1 billion in taxes, and they're working for the federal government, and you want them all axed?
Yeah, hey, if you're not paying your federal taxes and you're on the federal payroll, then you ought to be fired. Unfortunately, there are about 100,000 federal workers who are seriously delinquent on their taxes. And how can you keep taking money from the federal taxpayers and not pay your own taxes? And I want to fire them.
All right, so how are you going to go about doing that? How on earth would that work?
Well, we want the IRS, obviously, to continue to do their work, but we want to empower the different agencies, just like the IRS has the ability to do, and that is take every department, from agriculture to judiciary to Capitol Hill, and say, look, yeah, oh, absolutely. We have nearly 700 people who work on the House and Senate side who fall into this category of having serious delinquent tax debt. That's just not right. And so I've offered a bill to try to do that. All
right, so is it just current taxes or is it back taxes? Because, you know, we've got Tim Geithner, who's the head of our Treasury, who's he's infamous now because he didn't pay his Medicare or Social Security taxes for several years. Does he have to go?
No, look, if you're trying to do the right thing and get out of the hole that you find yourself in, well, of course, we're not going to lop your head off. And if you're going through the adjudication process and you're trying to appeal and you disagree with theirs, you're not going to be fired. But if you have serious delinquent tax debt, then I'm sorry, but you can no longer have the privilege of working for the federal government.
Now, I hate to point out the obvious, but when you fire someone from their job, it makes it harder, not easier, for them to pay debts like taxes. So are you cutting off your nose to spite your face?
No, look, the IRS is going to continue to pursue these people. It's interesting that on January 20th, President Obama actually gave a speech and said, you know what, if you're a federal contractor and you fall into this category, then you shouldn't be getting federal contracts. You should be prohibited from that and you should be fired from that. I agree with the president on his comments on that. I just think the same should be true for federal workers. And look, the overwhelming majority of federal workers, they do a good, hard job, and they're working hard. But for those people that are abusing the system, you cannot take the federal taxpayer's dollar if you're not paying the taxes.
How do you figure out who the ones are who are, you know, obviously you have some bad guys, right, who are just gaming the system. They're just not paying. And none of us love paying our taxes, but you got to do it, right? You got to die and you got to pay your taxes. Those are the rules. But how do you separate those guys from the ones who are, you know, it's a recession, times are tough, and a lot of people don't pay the taxes because they can't afford it, and then they just feel humiliated and they have that guilt inside of, oh my God, I didn't pay. It's not that they're ill-spirited, it's just that they feel bad about it.
Well, look, you feel for somebody who's trying to dig out from a hole that they find themselves in, no matter how they got there. And what my bill says is, look, if you're on a payment plan, if you've worked out a way to slowly pay that back, of course, we're not going to lop your head off. But unfortunately, there are too many people, and the IRS knows exactly who they are because they issued a report about this. Then there just comes a point where you're going to have to cut them off because, you know what, there are too many good people who are willing to pay their taxes that do abide by the rules.
None of us enjoy it. Who likes to pay their taxes?
But you got to do it.
Yes, you got to. I know. That's the rule. Got to do it and you got to die. Now, wait, you know something about saving money, don't you? And it involves a cot. Tell us.
I sleep on a cot in my office, save some money. And you know, we all have to cut corners and we got to, you know, tighten our belts up a little bit. The American people are hurting. We understand that. The Chaffetz family, the same thing. I have 3 young kids who are getting ready for college, and so you can't have anything. We can't be all things to all people. So, yeah, I came to Washington, D.C., and I just, you know, sleep on a cot in my office rather than going and getting some expensive apartment somewhere.
Are you still doing it?
Oh, yeah. I'm a little embarrassed about how well I sleep there.
Is that where you shower?
Yeah, I shower daily, regularly. I promise. Yeah, no, I shower well and daily, frequently. I promise.
Listen, I think it's a great way to save money. Members of Congress do not get paid that much, especially folks who are trying to put three kids through college. So good for you, and we'll be watching your proposal, Congressman.
No, thanks, Megan. Appreciate it.
What do you guys think?
Thank you.
What do you think? Fire the federal employees who don't pay the taxes? Let me know. Kelly at foxnews.com. Well, earlier this week, we showed you how $75 million worth of drugs was stolen from a Connecticut warehouse. Now that drug company is saying before you take your next dose of prescription pills, these were prescription medications, they have a warning.